The crystal towers of the Great Council building shook as another star system disappeared from the galaxy maps. Admiral Kira stood before the massive viewing screen, watching red dots vanish one by one. Each dot had been home to billions of living beings. Now they were nothing but empty space. "Admiral, we have lost contact with the Karathi home system," reported Lieutenant Tay from his station. His voice was calm, but his hands trembled as he typed commands into his console. The young officer had family in that system. Kira closed her 4 eyes and tried to think. The Void Swarm had been unstoppable for 3 months now. These creatures were not like any enemy the galaxy had ever faced. They did not want territory or resources. They consumed everything: planets, stars, even the space between them. Where they passed, nothing remained, not even memories. "Show me the tactical display," Kira ordered. The holographic map showed the current state of the war. Red zones marked where the Void Swarm had already fed. Yellow zones showed systems under attack. Green zones showed safe areas, but there were very few green zones left. Commander Yoon from the Defense Fleet stepped forward. "Admiral, our weapons do nothing to them. Energy blasts, missiles, even our most powerful bombs, they absorb everything. We throw at them and grow stronger." Kira had seen the battle reports. The crystalline Zephyrians had thrown their entire military at one void creature. The beast had eaten their weapons, their ships, and their warriors. Then it had grown twice, as large, and moved on to devour their home planet. The energy beings called luminants had tried to fight using pure light and thought. The Void Swarm had consumed their essence and learned to think like them. Now the creatures were smarter and more dangerous. "There must be something," Kira said, more to herself than to her officers. "In all the history of the galaxy, someone has to face these things before." Dr. Min looked up from her research station. She was old, even by her species' long standards, and had spent her life studying ancient galactic history. "Admiral, I may have found something, but it is very old, and the records are damaged." "Tell me," Kira said immediately. The old scientist activated a display showing fragments of text and images. "This data comes from the deepest archives. It mentions creatures that sound like our current enemy, but this record is from 10,000 years ago." Everyone in the command center turned to listen. Any hope was better than no hope. The record speaks of a great war against beings that consumed reality itself. Most of the text is corrupted, but there are references to a species that helped end the threat. They were called humans. Kira had never heard this name before. "What do we know about these humans?" Dr. Min touched her screen and more fragments appeared. "Very little. They seem to have been unusual among galaxy species. The records describe them as unpredictable, chaotic, and willing to sacrifice everything for others. There are notes that they were difficult to work with because they did not follow normal patterns of behavior." "Where are they now?" asked Commander Yoon. "Gone," Dr. Min replied sadly. "They vanished from all records about 10,000 years ago. Most species assumed they died out or destroyed themselves. But there is one interesting detail." She highlighted a section of damaged text. "The final entry suggests they did not die. It says they chose to leave. The words I can read say something like, 'They departed for the void beyond,' saying they would return when chaos was needed to fight Order's failure." The command center fell silent. Outside the windows, another star flickered and died as the Void Swarm consumed it. Lieutenant Tay spoke quietly. "Admiral, if these humans helped defeat the Void before, and if they are still alive somewhere, we need to find them," Kira finished. "Dr. Min, are there any location references in these records?" The old scientist worked frantically through the data fragments. "Here," she said finally. "Coordinates for their last known position. But Admiral, these coordinates point beyond the edge of our galaxy. If they went there, they would be in empty space with no stars, no planets, nothing to support life." Kira studied the numbers on the screen. It was a desperate chance, but it was the only chance they had. Every day they waited, more worlds died. Her own home planet would be in the Void Swarm's path within 2 weeks. "Prepare my fastest ship," she ordered. "I will take a small fleet to investigate these coordinates." "Admiral, that is very dangerous," Commander Yoon protested. We need you here to coordinate the defense. What defense? Kira asked bitterly. We cannot fight these creatures. Every battle we lose makes them stronger. Our only hope is to find help, and if these humans still exist, I will find them. She looked around at her officers, all young beings, who had never known war before this nightmare began. Continue evacuating civilian populations to the outer rim. Try to buy time. If I do not return with help within 1 month, begin moving everyone beyond the galaxy's edge. Maybe we can survive in the void until these monsters finish consuming everything and move on. As alarms began sounding throughout the station announcing another system under attack, Kira made her choice. She would travel into the unknown darkness, beyond the stars, searching for a species that might not even exist anymore. But it was better than watching her galaxy die without fighting back. The hunt for humanity was about to begin. Captain Gino watched the alien ships appear on his sensors, like ghosts emerging from the darkness. For 3 days, the strange vessels had been approaching the hidden human system, moving carefully through the asteroid fields that concealed their worlds from the galaxy. Sir, they are sending communication signals, reported Lieutenant Hana from her station. The message is repeating in 17 different languages. They say they represent something called the Galactic Council and request permission to enter our space. Gino smiled, but it was not a happy expression. His grandmother had told him this day would come. She had lived through the Great Leaving, when humanity chose exile over submission to the galaxy's rigid rules. Now, after 10,000 years, the galaxy came seeking help. Let them approach, but keep all defense systems ready, Gino ordered, and send word to the other colony worlds. Tell them our long wait is over. The lead alien ship was massive, built from what looked like living crystal. As it docked with the human space station, Gino could see the surprise on the alien faces through the viewing ports. They had expected to find primitive survivors hiding in the darkness. Instead, they found a thriving civilization with technology they did not recognize. Admiral Kira stepped off her ship and stopped in shock. The human station was beautiful in ways she had never imagined. Gardens grew in zero gravity, and strange machines hummed with quiet energy. The humans who greeted her looked healthy and confident, not like refugees who had been hiding for millennia. Welcome to Haven Station, said Captain Gino, speaking perfect galactic standard language. I am Gino Kim, commander of the New Earth. Defense Fleet, we have been expecting you. Expecting us? Admiral Kira asked, confused. How could you know we were coming? Dr. Yuna stepped forward, carrying a device that looked like a crystal sphere filled with swirling lights. We have been watching the galaxy for 10,000 years, Admiral. We saw the Void Swarm awaken 50 years ago. We knew it would take time for your people to realize you needed help. The meeting room where they gathered overlooked a planet covered in cities and green spaces. Millions of humans lived below, their civilization far more advanced than anything in the current galaxy. You know about the Void Swarm? Admiral Kira asked. Then you know entire worlds are dying every day. Billions of beings are being consumed. We know, Captain Gino replied quietly. We lost family when the swarm last appeared. Our ancestors fought them before, and some of our people died in that ancient war. Commander Yoon, who had accompanied Admiral Kira, leaned forward. The old record said humans helped defeat the Void before. Is this true? Yes, Dr. Yuna answered. But not in the way your people fought them. The galaxy tried to use order, structure, and predictable tactics. The Void Swarm learned from every attack and grew stronger. We won by using chaos. She activated her crystal device, and images appeared in the air above the table. They showed battles from long ago, with human ships flying in patterns that made no sense, attacking in ways that seemed completely random. The Void Swarm is a collective intelligence, Dr. Yuna explained. It learns by finding patterns in how its enemies behave. But humans do not always follow patterns. We can be unpredictable when we need to be. This confusion weakens the swarm. Admiral, Kira studied the ancient battle recordings. Your ships were destroyed in large numbers during these fights. Yes, Captain Gino said simply. Many humans died, but their sacrifice saved the galaxy. We are willing to make such sacrifices again. Lieutenant Hanna brought up current galaxy maps showing the void swarm's advance. We have been preparing for their return. Our weapons, our ships, our tactics. Everything has been designed to fight enemies that exist partially outside normal reality. Why did you leave the galaxy if you knew this threat would return? Commander Yoon asked. The room fell silent for a moment. Finally, Captain Gino answered. Because the galaxy could not accept what we are. After the war, your people wanted us to become like them. Ordered, predictable, controlled. But if we became like you, we could not fight the chaos that you cannot fight. Dr. Yuna nodded sadly. The galactic government 10,000 years ago gave us a choice. Conform to their rules or leave. We chose to leave and wait. We knew the void would return someday, and the galaxy would need chaos to survive. Admiral Kira felt a mixture of shame and hope. Her ancestors had driven away the very people who could save them. Will you help us now? We will fight beside you, Captain Gino said. But not as your servants or your saviors. We return as equals. The galaxy must accept that order and chaos can work together. Through the viewing window they could see human ships preparing for departure, sleek vessels unlike anything in the current galaxy, designed for war against impossible enemies. How many ships do you have? Commander Yoon asked. Enough, Captain Gino replied. But ships alone will not win this war. Victory will require every species in the galaxy to trust in methods they do not understand. Are your people ready to follow human tactics, even when they seem like madness? Admiral Kira thought of her dying worlds and her desperate people. They will have to be ready. We have no other choice. As the human fleet prepared to return to the galaxy after 10,000 years of exile, Captain Gino looked at the stars ahead. Then let us go home and teach the galaxy how to fight with chaos. Commander Suki stood on the bridge of her destroyer, watching the combined fleet take position around the Tertius Nebula. Human ships moved between the alien vessels like dancers, their formations making no sense to the experienced galactic commanders. The crystal ships of the Zephyrians held perfect geometric patterns, while the energy beings maintained their orderly light formations. Only the human ships seemed to drift randomly through space. This is Admiral Veltar of the Zephyrian fleet, came the transmission over the communication channels. Human vessels, your positioning violates all known tactical doctrine. You are creating gaps in our defensive line. Captain Day's voice replied from his ship with calm confidence. Admiral, those gaps are exactly where we want them. Trust the plan. Lieutenant Nari checked her sensors from the human flagship. Sir, the void. Entities are approaching. 3 massive ones, each the size of a small moon. They are moving faster than our previous encounters. Through the viewing screens, the approaching enemies looked like tears in reality itself. Dark shapes that hurt to look at directly, surrounded by the twisted remains of consumed matter. As they moved, space itself seemed to bend and warp around them. All alien fleets, begin standard attack formation 7, ordered Admiral Veltar. Focus fire on the lead entity. The crystal ships opened fire with beams of pure energy. The energy beings shot streams of living light. The mechanical Karathi launched their most powerful missiles. Every weapon hit the lead void entity perfectly, and every weapon was absorbed without effect. The creature grew slightly larger, as expected, muttered Dr. Yuna from her position in the human command center. They feed on ordered attacks. Now watch what chaos can do. All human ships execute pattern random 7, Captain Gino commanded. What happened next shocked every alien observer. The human destroyer piloted by Captain Minho suddenly accelerated directly toward the largest void entity, firing its weapons not at the creature, but at empty space around it. At the same time, Lieutenant Ray's fighter squadron split up and attacked from 6 different directions, each pilot firing at seemingly random intervals. They have lost their minds, Admiral Veltar whispered. Those fighters are attacking nothing. But, Dr. Yuna smiled as she watched her instruments. They are not attacking nothing. They are creating quantum fluctuations in spacetime. The void entities exist partially outside our reality. Random energy bursts in seemingly empty space actually damage the parts of them we cannot see. Captain Minho's destroyer flew closer, to the massive void entity, dodging tentacles of dark energy that could have destroyed his ship instantly. His weapons kept firing in patterns that changed every few seconds, sometimes rapid bursts, sometimes single shots, sometimes not firing at all. Minho, your targeting system appears damaged, Admiral Veltar transmitted. You are missing every shot. Negative, Admiral, Minho replied while spinning his ship in a spiral that made no tactical sense. I am hitting exactly what I aim for. Void entity began to slow its advance. For the first time since the war began, one of the creatures seemed confused. Its attacks became less coordinated, striking at empty space as if fighting enemies that were not there. Lieutenant Nari's fighter squadron executed what looked like pure chaos. Some fighters flew directly at the void entities before breaking away at the last second. Others seemed to ignore the battle completely, firing at distant asteroids. A few fighters appeared to be attacking each other. This is madness, Commander Yoon said from his observation post. How can random actions win a battle? Dr. Yuna pulled up tactical readings on her screen. Look at the void entities' behavior patterns. They are trying to learn from our attacks, but they cannot find patterns to copy. Each random action forces them to recalculate their responses. It is like trying to solve a puzzle where the pieces keep changing shape. The battle reached its climax when Captain Day made a decision that horrified the alien commanders. His heavy cruiser, loaded with quantum explosives, flew straight into the mouth of the largest void entity. Captain Day, retreat immediately, Admiral Veltar ordered. That approach will result in your destruction. That is the idea, Day replied calmly. Sometimes winning requires losing first. His ship disappeared inside the dark creature and, for a moment, nothing happened. Then a brilliant explosion erupted from within the void entity, but this was not ordinary fire. It was chaotic energy that spread in unpredictable patterns, tearing at the creature from inside. The massive void entity began to collapse, its form becoming unstable. The two smaller creatures stopped their advance and seemed to retreat as if suddenly afraid. Impossible, Admiral Veltar whispered. How did sacrificing one ship destroy something we could not damage with our entire fleet? Captain Gino's voice came over the communication channels, tired but victorious. Because Captain Day did not just attack the creature, he became part of it, then introduced chaos into its ordered existence. The entity could not process having random, unpredictable thoughts inside its collective mind. As the surviving void entities retreated deeper into space, the combined fleet took time to count their losses. Humanity had lost 12 ships and over 3,000 people. But for the first time in the war, they had driven back the enemy. I do not understand your tactics, Admiral Veltar admitted during the post-battle meeting. How do you coordinate such seemingly random actions? Dr. Yuna smiled sadly. We do not coordinate chaos, Admiral. We guide it. Every random action serves a purpose, even if that purpose cannot be explained in advance. This is why the galaxy needed us to return. The victory at Tertius Nebula proved that the Void Swarm could be beaten, but only through methods that made no sense to ordered minds. The massive space station called Hope's End floated in the darkness at the galaxy's center, surrounded by the largest fleet ever assembled. Representatives from every surviving species worked together in the command center, but their faces showed the same expression: fear. The Void Swarm had grown stronger after each battle, learning from their defeats and adapting their tactics. Admiral, Gino stood before the holographic display showing the enemy's approach. Thousands of void entities moved toward the galactic core like a dark tide, consuming everything in their path. Behind them was nothing but empty space where entire civilizations had once thrived. The Lazarus Protocol is ready, reported Dr. Yuna, her voice steady despite the magnitude of what they were about to attempt. All human colonies have confirmed their participation. They understand what this will cost. Captain Hyun checked his communication systems one final time. Messages were arriving from human worlds across the galaxy. Families saying goodbye, children sending drawings to their parents in the fleet, elderly people sharing final words of wisdom. Every human settlement had volunteered to sacrifice itself for the protocol to work. Explain this plan once more, requested Admiral Veltar. The crystalline being had fought beside humans for months now, but still struggled to understand their methods. How will destroying your own worlds help us win? Dr. Yuna activated a complex diagram showing quantum field interactions. The Void Swarm operates as a collective intelligence spread across multiple dimensions. To defeat them, we must introduce chaos into every level of their existence simultaneously. This requires quantum generators positioned throughout the galaxy, all activated at the exact same moment. And the only way to power these generators is, Admiral Veltar began, is to sacrifice the worlds they are built on, Captain Gino finished quietly. Each generator needs the energy released when a planet dies. 47 human worlds will give their lives to create the chaos field we need. Commander Yoon from the Defense Fleet looked at the tactical display. Will it work? We do not know, Dr. Yuna admitted. This has never been attempted before, but our calculations show it is our only chance to create enough chaos to confuse the entire swarm at once. Lieutenant Hana received a transmission from New Busan, one of the human colony worlds. Admiral, Captain Lee reports his world is ready. 20 million people are prepared to activate their generator when you give the order. Similar reports came from human worlds across the galaxy. New Seoul, New Jeju, Hope Colony, Freedom Station. Every human settlement was ready to die for the chance to save the galaxy. The Void Swarm arrived at the galactic core like a storm of living darkness. The lead entities were enormous now, each one the size of a star system. They had learned to work together in perfect coordination, their collective intelligence stronger than ever before. All fleets, begin the final battle, Admiral Gino commanded. Remember, we are not trying to win through force. We are buying time for the protocol to activate. The battle began with conventional tactics, alien fleets firing their weapons while human ships executed their chaotic maneuvers. The void entities absorbed the energy attacks and began their methodical advance toward the populated core worlds. Captain Minho led his squadron in what appeared to be a desperate attack on the largest void entity. His ships fired wildly in all directions, seeming to panic as they flew closer to certain death. But his random actions were carefully planned to mask the real purpose, buying precious minutes for the quantum generators to reach full power. Phase 1 complete, Dr. Yuna announced. All human worlds report their generators are online. Beginning final countdown. On New Seoul, Captain Lee stood in his command center watching his people prepare for the end. Children played in the parks while their parents worked at the quantum facility. Everyone knew they would not see tomorrow, but they also knew their sacrifice would save billions of others. 10 seconds until activation, Dr. Yuna called out. All human worlds, prepare for protocol execution. The countdown reached 0, and, across the galaxy, 47 human worlds activated their quantum generators simultaneously. Each planet released its entire existence as pure chaotic energy, creating ripples in space-time that spread faster than light itself. The effect on the Void Swarm was immediate and devastating. The collective intelligence that had made them unstoppable suddenly found itself flooded with pure randomness from every direction. The entities began to attack randomly, striking at each other as often as at their intended targets. It is working, Admiral Veltar whispered in amazement. The swarm is turning on itself. The largest void entities began to collapse as their collective consciousness fragmented under the chaos assault. Unable to process the random information flooding their shared mind, they lost the coordination that made them powerful. But the victory came at a terrible price. Captain Gino received reports as each human world completed its sacrifice. New Seoul, gone. Hope Colony, consumed by its own generator. New Busan, silent forever. Millions of humans had given their lives in a single moment. The swarm is retreating, Lieutenant Hana reported, tears streaming down her face. The surviving entities are fleeing toward empty space. Dr. Yuna watched her instruments as the chaos field continued to spread. The disruption will continue for several more hours. Any void entities caught in the field will be destroyed. The immediate threat ended. The surviving fleet counted their losses. Humanity had sacrificed 60% of its population to save the galaxy. Entire human worlds existed now only in memory. Admiral Veltar approached Captain Gino, her crystalline form dim with grief. "Your people saved us all. How can we ever repay such sacrifice?" Gino looked at the stars where human worlds had once shone. "By remembering what we learned here, order and chaos must work together. Never again should any species be forced to choose exile over acceptance." The crucible was over, but its lessons would shape the galaxy forever. 6 years had passed since the last void entity disappeared into the empty spaces between galaxies. Admiral Veltar stood in the rebuilt council chambers on the station called Unity, watching ships from dozens of species work together to construct a memorial garden in space. The twisted metal and crystal structures floating outside the windows were beautiful in their own way, each piece representing a world that had been lost during the war. Captain Gino, now wearing the uniform of human ambassador, entered the chamber carrying reports from the reconstruction efforts. His hair had turned gray during the years of rebuilding, and his face showed the weight of losing so many of his people, but his eyes still held the determination that had helped save the galaxy. "The final census numbers are complete," announced Dr. Rena, one of the few human scientists who had survived the Lazarus Protocol. "We lost 47 worlds and approximately 63% of our total population. But the birth rates on surviving human colonies are increasing rapidly." The silence in the chamber was heavy with respect. Every species represented had suffered losses, but none had given as much as humanity. The beings who had once been exiled, for their chaotic nature, had sacrificed more than half their people to save those who had rejected them. "The Karathi delegation has a proposal," said Commander Zenkar, his mechanical voice carrying unusual emotion. "We wish to establish joint colonies where human and alien children grow up together. Perhaps the next generation will not repeat our mistakes." Admiral Veltar's crystalline form brightened with approval. "The Zephyrian Council supports this proposal. We have much to learn from human adaptability, and perhaps we can teach patience in return." Captain Hana, now promoted to Director of Interspecies Relations, activated a holographic display showing planned colony sites. "We have identified 12 worlds suitable for mixed settlements. The first colony ships are ready to launch next month." The conversation was interrupted by an urgent transmission from the Outer Rim territories. Lieutenant Day appeared on the communication screen, his excitement clear despite the formal setting. "Ambassadors, we have discovered something remarkable in the Kepler ruins. The archaeological team has found intact records from the original Void War 10,000 years ago. You need to see this." The screen changed to show ancient data crystals and stone tablets covered in symbols from multiple species. Dr. Yuna worked at a translation console, her fingers dancing across the controls as she decoded the ancient text. "These records tell a different story than we knew," Dr. Yuna said, her voice filled with wonder. "The first Void War was not won by humans alone. Every species contributed something unique. The energy beings provided power, the crystal people gave structure, the mechanical races offered precision, and humans supplied chaos. Victory came from unity, not from any single species." Admiral Gino studied the ancient images showing mixed fleets from the distant past. "So our ancestors did work together. The division came later. After the war ended," Dr. Yuna continued reading, "fear made the species separate. Each group blamed the others for the destruction caused during the fighting. Humans were exiled not because they were inferior, but because the galaxy was afraid of what they had all accomplished together. The revelation changed everything. The current council was not the first attempt at galactic unity. It was a return to something that had existed long ago and been lost to fear and misunderstanding. This changes our reconstruction plans," said Captain Gino. "We are not building something new. We are rebuilding something that worked before." Over the following months, the new Galactic Covenant took shape. Unlike the old council, which had demanded conformity, the Covenant celebrated differences. Human chaos workers helped alien engineers solve impossible problems by introducing random elements into their calculations. Zephyrian crystal gardens grew alongside human food forests on colony worlds. Energy beings shared their knowledge of space while learning human techniques for ground-based construction. The Memorial Worlds Project became the symbol of this new cooperation. 13 star systems were preserved exactly as they had been during the war, with holographic displays showing the battles and sacrifices made by every species. Visitors could walk through recreation chambers and experience what it had been like during humanity's final sacrifice, or witness the courage of Zephyrian crystal ships that had held the line during impossible battles. Captain Minho, now an old man teaching at the new Galactic Military Academy, often brought his students to visit the memorial world called Sacrifice Station. Young beings from every species would stand together in the chamber dedicated to New Soul, watching holographic images of human children playing in parks hours before their world died to save the galaxy. Why did they do it? Asked a young luminant student during one visit. The humans knew they would die. Why did they choose to sacrifice themselves? Captain Minho looked at the faces around him. Human, alien, and hybrid children who represented the galaxy's future. Because they understood something we had forgotten. We are all family, and family protects each other no matter what happened in the past. On the anniversary of the Lazarus Protocol, Admiral Veltar and Ambassador Gino stood together on the observation deck of Unity Station. Below them, construction crews worked on the newest project, a massive space city designed by teams of humans and aliens working together. Do you think we can avoid the mistakes of the past? Veltar asked. Gino watched a group of mixed-species children playing in the station's park areas, their laughter echoing through the corridors. We have something our ancestors did not have, the memory of what unity can accomplish and the knowledge of what division costs. In the distance, new stars were forming in systems the void had consumed, and life was beginning again in places once thought lost forever. The galaxy had learned that true strength comes not from order or chaos alone, but from the courage to embrace both together. The age of fear was over. The age of unity had begun.